Good morning and welcome to...
I consider myself to be a big man. I'm an ordinary citizen of Uganda.
For us, we know Secretary General of the leading opposition party. That qualifies you too.
The good thing is that he's now at least in a known place of detention. But for 7 days, he was under incommunicado detention, apparently in Genome House's basement. So we are still demanding for his freedom because he shouldn't be in any prison. He should be in a hospital getting medicated. Of course, some people incidentally think that this tribal or ethnic tone has been used only on people of other tribes, but we have many comrades who are from Western Uganda who have been abducted and asked why they are so stupid to support Muganda. You know, and recently a gentleman was picked from Hoima called Vianney, he's a Muchiga, another Bright Muhumza, and that is the narrative. That was what they were asking them. Why are you so stupid? Why are you supporting Muganda? For Bright, they were asking him, he's one of the coordinators in Western Uganda, they were asking him why you bring Noop to Isinjiro. And they subjected him to torture, and like with Eddie Mutu and others, they warned him that if you continue doing this, you'll see what will happen to you. So, for those who are abducted and they are from Buganda, for example, the narrative is always you will never rule, land Runyankole, all these things. But if they abducted someone from Western Uganda, they're asking you, why on earth? Because they view them as traitors. You've seen Genome House's tweets about myself, calling me a traitor, saying he's going to send me to Burundi and all those things. So it's not true that they only abduct people from this region. But those they abduct from the West, the narrative is always very, very unfortunate because it is also always ethnicized. If you see many of our people, once they find that you have a Runyankole name, for example, they ask you, why on earth are you with these people? So that's very, very unfortunate for our country.
When you say they, who are they?
Well, maybe we can use Eddie Mutu's situation as a case study. But you need to understand that Eddie Mutu is just one of the many, of the thousands. Like we've been indicating in the lead up to the last election, we had over 2,000 victims of abductions. Many of them went through the military courts, whether unit disciplinary committees, divisions court-martial, the general court-martial. Others were just dumped in places. Others are still missing. We've been talking about the 18 missing persons, the Damulira Jones of this world, John Bosco Chibarama and others, Kanata Muhammad and others. Those are still missing up to now. But even since the last election, the abductions have been going on. They've been abducting almost every week. We record new abductions from different parts of the country. But in the case of Eddie Mutu, he was, of course, like I said, kept under incommunicado detention for 7 days. Subjected to grave torture. The last time we went to check on him at Masakama in prison, when he came into the room, everyone was crying. His mother, even the leaders could not hold their tears, and that reminded me of the situation in which our President Honorable Kyagulanyi was when, after the Arua episode, I was one of the few people who was able to see him. And I remember as soon as they carried him into the room, everybody, including the then chairperson of the Uganda Human Rights Commission, the Lord Mayor Ilyasu Lukwago and others, were waiting. They were actually not crying. It's only our president's wife who did not cry. I think she I don't know where she got that strength from, but everybody was waiting in that room because of the state in which he was. He was just looking like a thug beaten off the streets by a mob. So with Eddie Mutu, that's the same thing, the situation we found him in. And he told us what happened to him. He had been electrocuted. He had been waterboarded. He was demonstrating these things. He was a piece of cloth was put in his mouth, and water kept flowing over him. He was forced to put on Museveni's T-shirt for the time he was there. He was asked Amagara, which means how is life in Runyankole, and he simply said Tebanagampa. They haven't given me, because he did not know what to respond, and that attracted so many beatings, and they were mocking him how he could not know Runyankole, and they said by the time you live here you certainly will have learned Runyankole. He was handcuffed, and the cuffs stepped on, which ate into his skin. The same thing with his legs, and those of you who have been able to see him could see the wounds on his arms. He told us that he was being flogged a minimum of 4 times every day that he spent there. Those are the Runyankore sessions General Muhoozi was talking about, because he said these were the torture sessions, and every time a torture session begins, they put on a loud volume such that the neighbors cannot hear. Remember, he told us that he was not in any military facility at the start, or he was not even at a police station or whatever. He was in someone's home. He could see that this was a beautiful home where he was being kept in a basement. And so maybe they knew that the neighbors could hear him crying out or something. So these thugs would, put the volume up. And then he was forced to kneel down and swear allegiance to General Museveni and his son. And he told us that the CDF personally participated in his torture. He could identify him. So you can imagine. I mean, it's you can't believe this is happening in 2025. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
With all the laws you have in the country.
What do you say to those who are sarcastic and say he will heal quickly, like his president healed quickly, or like Dr. Kizza Besigye healed quickly?
Well, those are monkeys just laughing at a burning bush. It will come for them. There's no one safe in a sinking boat. That is what our country is now. Anybody who thinks they are safe is lying to themselves. And whether you're in the military, whether you're in the police, you saw a police station the other day being attacked by the military, the OC station being brutalized and all that. So how can anybody in their senses, find... one of the things that really bothered Eddie Mutwe was that the people who were doing these things to him were actually laughing. They were mocking him, seemingly happy. He said one officer came and spat in his face, and that really dehumanized him so much. They took pictures of him naked and they were sending them. So anybody who thinks this is a joking matter is really, really playing with fire, I would say. General Museveni is one who was saying people were playing with fire the last time. But I think anybody at this point where we are who thinks, who jokes, I normally see these bots on X who are joking about these situations, but they don't seem to understand that it is coming for them. Yeah.
Agatha, it's interesting or ironic when you and Rubongwe are the lawyers in the studio, but when he says it's good he's in a formal prison, can you imagine such a statement? Yep,
I can imagine, and it really speaks about what we've been reduced to. We just look for the less terrible situation. So, like he said, so now when they are in gazetted detention, even if it is for no crime, like we know in the case of Eddie Mutwe and many others, we are, at least there's that feeling that they are not dead, they are not being tortured to death. But when people are held without any of their relatives, any of their lawyers, any of their loved ones knowing where they are, it is always a bad situation. I don't know if David Lewis talked about the other people that were kidnapped with Eddie Mutwe. I don't think you guys know where they are up to now.
We know where one of them is. One of them was actually released.
Yeah.
There's a young man called Kyagulanyi Najib. So there were two. One was Kassim Sebude, another one was Kyagulanyi Najib, a 22-year-old young man who was just going about his business, picked up. But when they released him, first of all, when they were arresting him, when they were abducting him, they put him on gunpoint, asked to surrender his phone and all the money he had to these people who took him, and they never returned these things to him. And then when they were dropping him...
Never returned the phone?
Yeah, even the phone, they took it, they remained with it. And even when they were bringing him back, they drove him up to a certain place, put him on gunpoint, and told him if he dares look back, he will be shot. So you can imagine the state that we're in. So this young man, we know where he is, but Kassim Sebude, we don't know where he is up to now. And just to add on that, they told him not to speak out. So we've been trying to engage him, to try to convince him. But you can sense the trauma in him. Because they told him, if you dare speak out, we'll come for you. Just like Eddie Mutwe was told, if he continues doing what he's doing, he'll be castrated. That was
unrecorded. So the thing is that...
So Agatha, what's the charge against Eddie Mutwe?
Robbery now? The charge
aggravated robbery.
Yes. The charge is robbery, and so they. Now, I didn't know Edmutwe had been kidnapped that day on Sunday. It was a Sunday.
Yeah.
So I received a message from there's someone that sends me information. I don't know them, and I have never known how to take that information, whether they are credible or not. So this person sends me information and says Edmutwe is being held at CMI. They want to add him on the same charge as Akilewo Chivumbi and others. So I called Rubongoya here and said, has Edmutwe been kidnapped? He said, yes. I think that was like an hour after he'd been kidnapped. So between that time and the day, I think the CDF Mhozi Kainerugaba said he has him, I kept asking him, and because we kept expecting that he's going to be produced in Masaka, where Akilewo Chivumbi was, to be added on that, but he was nowhere to be seen until this guy now, the CDF comes and says he has him, and even with evidence. Now, the question you ask about people like David Lewis here saying, at least now he's in proper detention. Disregard for the law in this country has become so commonplace. It's normal. It's been normalized because it happens every day. Look at the case of Edmutwe. The law that were the law provisions that were disregarded, that were violated. You start with the Constitution, so many provisions there. You go to the Prevention and Prohibition of Torture Act. You go to international laws. The person came and admitted to a crime. No one has arrested that person. No one has nothing, because that was a crime. You're saying you're torturing someone. Torture is, and torture is not just you're not just committing a crime. You see, the Constitution has provisions that they say for under Chapter 4, where the Bill of Rights is. There are those laws that the state can, the rights that the state can do away with in the interest of the state, public interest and security and all that. But torture is one of those that is absolute. It's a non-derogable right. No one can have an excuse for violating that right. So we have people that no one has come up and questioned. The police is quiet. We have a police that should be apprehending criminals. We have, but among the laws that were violated, there are provisions of the UPDF Act itself. We have the army quiet. We were all happy that the Human Rights Commission said something. We were not used to that. But even what it said, it really still fell below, because it issued a release order and stopped there. So that's what
does it have power?
Yeah, it has a lot of powers. It has powers to summon. It has powers to arrest. It has it. Yeah, but I think the only thing it could do is to issue a release order, and that's where we are going. It's a bad trend.
Yeah.
It's the breakdown in the rule of law, where people are.
There's a breakdown because I don't see any policeman arresting a CDF. Not in Uganda.
You know, there's nowhere. There's equality before the law under the Constitution. There's nowhere it says that if a CDF breaks the law. I don't know if it's the CDF or being Museveni's son or both, but you cannot break the law and we keep quiet. We cannot just keep quiet here and be at the mercy and whims of one human being, because that's what the law had come to cure. Now, if we are subjected to
had a CDF, General Kazini, would anyone have arrested him?
Did he ever come out and say he has he's torturing someone?
Okay, he said other things. But I wanted to put to you, Agatha, if we eventually knew that Edmutwe had been taken to a basement when he was brought to court, there was some kind of confirmation. But the scenario that Rubongoya describes here, you could say those were robbers that had taken Chagulanyi fellow, the young man.
Oh, you think there's a difference between the people that took Chagulanyi and the people that took Edmutwe?
Oh.
No, because you're dealing with thugs. People who are breaking the law are thugs. So, and this is the other thing I wanted to mention. So Edmutwe is being held by the CDF Kainerugaba in his basement, but guess who produced him in court? Police. the people that were supposed to arrest the person who was torturing him, and produced him in a way that no one should see. You saw how they put a wall so that no one, because I think the photos of a tortured Kakwenza, they have never recovered from what it did to them. So now they want to torture and make sure that no one sees this person until they have healed. And you have enablers in that. The people that should be coming in to save the situation, the police and the judicial officers. The law is very clear about a tortured accused, that if an accused appears before a judicial officer where their non-derogable rights, like I was saying here, have been violated, and the non-derogable rights of Edu Mutwe that were violated, you start with the fair hearing in a court of law that he had disappeared for a long time without him being produced in court. You go to torture, freedom from torture. And
did the magistrates in that case do the right thing by saying he should be taken for medical attention?
No, this is what I'm explaining. The magistrate in that case, what they were supposed to do is to acquit that person, is to dismiss the charges, because the person is appearing before them tortured.
That is the law.
That is the law. But even if that law was not there, I am thinking, why are you sending someone to get medical attention in prison? And David Lewis can tell you that in that prison they are only giving him painkillers. So why not release this person to get treatment, and then you charge a person?
The magistrate said take him to Masaka Hospital.
Is he in Masaka Hospital?
No.
He's in prison.
He's in a sick bed. In prison.
But finally, to you, Agatha, are there other political prisoners?
Very many.
That maybe have not been charged, or in addition to those that have not been released ever since the court-martial was closed?
No, I don't know about the new ones now. The ones I know are the ones that were before the court-martial that you say was closed. How many months is it now? And these people have never been transferred to the civil courts.
Only one has.
Yeah, only one the other day appeared, and I am glad that Honorable Katuntu is here to speak again about bail, because we have normalized people applying for bail, and it takes 2 months to review that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So welcome Honorable Robert Kasule Sebunya and Honorable Abdu Katuntu. Both of them are wearing the fanciest shirts in the studio. We thank their donors. Honorable Ssemujju,
you're only made to say cheap, but
no. they are not cheap. They're very fancy. I'm
glad to be here too. By the time I arrived, this looked like a court session of some sort.
Well, now we have a third lawyer, so you never. Yes,
I'm glad to be here.
And I only have one NRM. A friend of mine, we were having a chat about getting an NRM gangster on the panel. I said that is a description of extreme sports.
I know.
Extreme sport. So, Honorable Ssemujju, political prisoners.
But I'm glad to find my old friends. Yes. The only person I've never met in life is
David Lewis Rubongwe.
But I'm happy to be at the gang.
For you, you don't need a basement, because the big one said he will crush you. Gave us the date. So every time I'm with you, I celebrate that day. I think it was in May, I think.
May was busy.
May was busy. Yours
he said he will kill me.
Heroes Day. Heroes Day is not in May. Heroes Day is the 9th June.
The day is yet to come.
I think yours was in May, so every time I'm with you, I thank the Lord.
You see, all what you are describing has happened in this country before. Haji Aziz Kasuja, who was the chairman of the Electoral Commission, he was part of the Amin government. He was arrested, taken to the military detention in Mashindye. But these are people he was working with. So he said, you guys, why don't you release me? And one of the soldiers told him, you are safer Haji here. Safer in prison. And he stayed there until Amin was overthrown. So there are occasions, and there will be occasions when you will thank God that you are in a prison.
because there are others who are in the basement. And the things that are happening, I spoke to an old man in Mutondwe, and he told me some of the people who were killed under Amin, the instructions from Amin and his army men sometimes was not to kill. But because they were enjoying and celebrating torture, each time they send out ordinary soldiers to go and bring a person, they knew that if you bring him bleeding, the bosses will be happy. So on their own, they will begin the torturing from the spot where they arrest you from up to when they are producing you before they are found. And sometimes people will die. So the people Lewis was talking about who are disappeared, I think when the torture becomes too much and you are about to die, they are not going to produce a body. They are going to, you will just disappear. So when you are returned in the form that Edmutwe was returned, then they will shield you as you go to court, because they don't want that torture to be filmed and to be broadcast. But if the torture is too much and you die, then you will disappear. You become so they disappear you.
We have the 18 that...
Yeah, so they can deny that they have arrested you and so on and so forth. So Muhoozi Kainerugaba, Mr. Museveni's son, is taken us where the Idi Amin is where. And I think maybe the second Obote administration, because they are relatives who got lost. The Abudu Katundu's government of Obote. I lost an uncle together with a cousin. I told you the story here. They were driving a van. So Obote soldiers wanted to use the van. They took the van, but together with the driver and conductor. And both the three, the van and the conductor and driver, disappeared. We never saw them. So those stories, many families have them. So where Muhoozi Kainerugaba has taken us, and as I keep saying, you see, not just in in 2025, but the majority of people who are running our security apparatus are people who have gone to school. They are run, some of them with the first-class degrees, others with master's degree. For them to behave like soldiers, because Kasiri Gwanga told me when he was being enrolled in the military, they will take your measurements. So if the chest is of a certain size, then they say you're fit. So you are entering the military, you are being enrolled because of the size of your chest and height. So today, people at a cadet level, you must be above senior 6. So for Muhoozi Kainerugaba to be celebrating torture, and he tells the whole world that I am here enjoying. He says every day I am punching Edmutwe. I am now going to castrate him. I am now teaching him Runyankole. And then he is produced in the manner in which he was produced in Masaka. It's the highest level of impunity. Because Edmutwe is known. There are people who are hunting for him. The whole country was... But there are others who are less known. In the last elections, when the Honorable Chagulanyi got arrested, they were now arresting everybody. So there are children in my neighborhood who were thrown in a sugar plantation in Mukono. They had been picked at a construction site because they were in red. Okay, I've called them children. They are young people of 20. And the only reason they were picked was because they were in red. So the soldiers picked them at a construction site. Up to now, after so many months, they don't know where they were. And they told me the same story. That during that time, some of the soldiers were nice. They would come and tell you, you continue praying. If Museveni loses this election, you're going to die. So you pray that Museveni wins. There you have a chance of getting out. Said, but there are those who would come drunk. We are being beaten. We are a source of entertainment for them. A whole night we are being beaten. And you keep praying for the other one who doesn't beat, that is the one who is in charge of you. But Oscar, these things have been gradual. The militarization of civil order. One time my sister got arrested by the crime intelligence commanded by Damalira. and I went to see her after speaking to Tafire, to David Mohoz, people who are in charge of police, where they had put her with my younger brother, and the stories of the others, but even the environment under which they were holding was, and then you say, in the 7th hour, you kill them and you say they were running. Then they went to arrest Chirevu. I know his father comes from Chazang. At night, that guy was arrested together with his wife and a guest, and then he's shot in front of everybody, including his children, and then they say he was running. You have surrounded all manners, clans of security agencies surrounded the house of a helpless person, and then you say he was running away.
So this was during
No, this is Adam 7. Chirevu was shot just about a year ago. So the things I'm doing about now.
Different from Zebra Senyange.
Zebra Senyange. This one was shot recently. Senyange is during the elections, but they have continued murdering people just like that. In the past, Oscar, this government will deny if a person was tortured. I remember Dr. Besigye, when they shot his finger, they said Besigye injured himself. They will never take responsibility for torture. They will never celebrate it. Now you have at the helm of the military, Museveni's son, who says, now this one I have finished, you are the one next. So he celebrates it, he shares it on social media for everybody to see, and the whole country, the level of vulnerability that your mother will call you, please, why don't you leave those things before Museveni's son kills you?
Yeah.
So we are at that stage, and the old Museveni is quiet. He's quiet, he doesn't say anything, because you are now dealing with militarization, but also the highest level of tribalism. That the guy for us, the Tutsis, you will see us, you opposition, you will see the Tutsi this year. I have seen one of the tweet. We are going to teach you in Nyankole. And that comes from a CDF. Not an Amin CDF, but a Museveni CDF. And Museveni keeps quiet about that. All I saw...
Museveni doesn't keep quiet. He blames the victims. He comes with the letters saying...
I have seen a social media post which was sent to me, in which he was saying we must now learn to speak very well in the public.
Yeah.
That it was attributed to Museveni, that he now says we must speak very well. What he didn't add is that if you don't, Muhoozi will come for you. Yeah. Maybe he needed to add that. So really we are...
I think the letter says hate speech is not allowed.
But hate speech, someone who beats a person and he says, I am beating you because you must learn Runyankole. Why don't you know Runyankole? You ask me, Amagara, if I don't know, you beat me. So what more hate?
Maybe the message to that way.
No,
that Museveni's son gets a message from a tweet or from his father.
And he said that while chairing the senior commander of the army, his son was there. In fact, in his tweet, he put the picture of his son, that this is what he said during the meeting. And you remember what he said after Kawempe? That it's the opposition that was causing that violence, as if the opposition has an army that is wearing jet and whatever, and those uniforms.
Let's go to Robert here. Robert Kasule Sewunya. I invited you to talk about NRM elections.
Yeah.
But because I'm not so sure what you would say.
I'm surprised.
Surprised how? Are you not a Ugandan?
When you have
Ugandan doesn't
when
mean
you
that
have
I'm everywhere near ADF being arrested. As if these people are in a theater of...
Robert, these questions make people from your party stammer. They never talk
we stammer
in sentences.
Because it is
when you have like a meeting, do you ever have an opportunity to discuss these things?
Yeah, that's why not in the caucus. That's why we say you talk in the right forum. You don't discuss general issues of the generals in a talk show. But
many of us are with you, Robert. Whenever we talk about these things, the stammering comes up.
But
short sentences.
We are also shocked to learn some of these things. This is not the Uganda we know. We know a Uganda that has been, for most of the 40 years, we have been celebrating peace, the rule of law. I think the parliament, I think the other, is that 8th parliament when somebody brought the anti-torture the untorture,
Prohibition of torture.
Prohibition of torture, and we're all celebrating that we're moving in the right direction. So when we hear what we are hearing, we don't want to believe, but some things are happening, and exacerbated by social media. Somebody posts something and you think maybe this is a katemba of some sort. Why do you post such a thing? And you are not simple people. Parliament is also here. They are not confronting such
Parliament
excesses.
I'll come and beat you.
Yeah,
so you want us to be beaten.
Saying I'm coming to beat you. You do your work. You do your work. Parliament is as quiet as an envelope. So sometimes you tend to believe, sometimes you don't. You tend not to believe. So
there was
those who are in charge.
Robert, there was a social media post showing that the bishops have finally spoken out, and it was like...
Yeah, but this is... okay, bishops may... But that's not...
They did not speak.
That's not their core... Okay, that might be their... They might take it as their core... it is the politicians who are calling them. You speak out on our behalf. Please, are you not in Uganda? Speak out, speak out.
It's not their job.
But it is the politicians who are benefiting from the resources of the government at the moment, who should be at the forefront. They have campaigned for many things. They have refused to go to parliament for many things. Why are they not refusing to go to parliament for some of these exercises we are hearing? And you expect the Wananchi to come and to be the main. They are telling the people that it should be you. You are quiet. You are stupid. But it is them. We are the leaders now. We are not leaders of tomorrow. Well, good enough we have been here. Especially, I've been on the street when I was young. I used to pick badges for UPC from all the big houses here. Geta, Count Africa is here, where people were shot while dancing and drinking. People fight. So we have been here. And I'm saying, on the Ed Mutwe's arrest and torture.
Not arrest, torture.
Yeah. You know, that is the narrative now you want to use. You want to use whether it's arrest or kidnap.
It's not a narrative.
You use your narrative.
Okay.
Let him use his word.
I'm saying arrest, and he's saying I should. So, and those are pedestrian ways of doing things. You can't torture somebody and then you bring him to court the next day. I mean, so we are also confused at some point because of these excesses. And I think we cannot say the whole army is involved. These are individuals, Ssemujju and their friends are quarreling.
The CDF is...
and it's manifesting in people suffering. No. He can be charged in his own name. And he will be charged if he's found guilty. So, and everybody, this is a global world. You cannot hide. What you have done on camera. So it's incumbent upon those who are in leadership to arrest the situation before it gets worse. Before we get involved, the Wananchi get involved. It's the leaders. The police is here. They should be on this station answering some of those questions. Why did you appear at the end of the taking somebody who you did not arrest to court? It is now not the Solicitor General, the
DPP.
The DPP to weigh the situation and know people. I mean, what are you doing? You have professionalized. They have increased the salaries of judges. They have increased the salaries of DPP officials, the attorneys, and everybody. So why are we paying for all this much when nobody is doing anything? So it is incumbent upon those who are in leadership, who are in those positions, that are directly responsible. Instead of for us calling for bishops to speak, now I've heard people even alluding that this new pope maybe may help. No, it is us here who should solve those problems. Those contradictions should be solved by us before they escalate. I mean, it doesn't help for you to come here and narrate a story as if it was a movie. Then I was arrested. Then he said I was what up. Please go to court. If it means being there on a daily basis until this problem is solved, before another one is arrested. Now, what are we waiting for Agatha to be arrested?
But people
to arrest the situation.
These people are in court.
That's not enough.
What is enough? Because you see,
I'm saying it's not enough.
Ssemujju,
yes.
These things you're telling us, you should tell them to your party. The solving of these problems.
No, but even when you say party is far away from the actors.
No, but maybe let me inform
tell
you.
the government. Tell the CDF, tell the IGP, tell the Minister of Internal Affairs, those are the people responsible.
Tell them in what language. So the people that are in charge are the ones violating.
Write petitions. We need to see Honorable Katuntu, Honorable.
Wow.
Let's go to Honorable Katuntu.
Where do we take our petitions? Do I bring them to you?
We have seen people going to Parliament to petition Parliament.
But
petition Parliament.
But Muhoozi is above Parliament.
No, you can't say Muhoozi is above Parliament.
Thank
when you are the custodian of the law, you can't say.
But how many has he been summoned and he says you are clowns and nothing happens?
Then let the Parliament not sit before he comes. Enforce it.
Right.
Now, do you want somebody from the street to enforce that?
So
for me,
you are in the hot seat. Robert says you're
Mr.
not
Moderator, the people in the seat, the people in people have elected to Parliament should do more than narrating the stories on Capital Radio. They should be more active. Maybe Agatha and Rubongoya can, but Ssemujju and Honorable Katuntu here should do more. That Parliament has the power to summon anybody.
Why can't you do more? Is it that for you not bothered by that?
But I'm talking about they are here. Let them defend themselves.
Abdi, you're on microphone. Last week, Abdi, you're not here. We had Audrey Kravogo, and again on that particular question, he said it is not his work. Robert Ssemujju has gone further and said, you parliamentarians, you can do better.
Oh, well, first of all, I don't want to be the position my brother Ssemujju is in, because under normal circumstances, there is no he would look good. It's possible, whatever you are saying, really, I'm sure when you go back home and reflect, you'll say, why did they bring that topic when I was there?
It's a sad situation.
Yeah, but then you start now looking for who to blame, and you are running away from where the problem is, which I think Ugandans should get serious about some of these issues. But I really sympathize with you, because some time back, I was more or less in the same position. There was after 1986, and at that time, UPC had just been thrown out of power. There are many things that were coming up, and retrospectively would look back and say, oh, did that happen really? You know, you sort of bury your head in shame. And what these events are doing is actually to make people like Ssemujju look extremely bad. Extremely bad. Mr. Ssemujju, you're not looking good. Just know this should just be unacceptable by any reasonable Ugandan. And the problem is, it is not about opposition, in my view. When there is a breakdown of law and order, you wouldn't know who would be the next victim. You wouldn't know. All of us crave for a country where there is fairness, where there is freedom, and you cannot, under any circumstances, justify torture. It's not possible. We all needed what we call a lethal army. A lethal army is supposed to be using that capacity to sort out enemies of the state, enemies of Uganda, not enemies of government. Because government will have opponents. You don't use the lethal capacity you have built over time to sort out the opposition. That doesn't help. First of all, it is not correct. It is unconstitutional. But even in common sense, I don't know who benefits from all this. I don't know who does. Does the NRM benefit from it? No. Does the President Museveni benefit from it? Who does? Who does? Okay. All of us are losers. Even M is a loser in this thing. Because you see, what distinguished the NRA from the past armies, whether Uganda Army, whether Uganda National Liberation Army, first call was discipline. And everybody used to talk about NRA and discipline. You know, the soldiers of the NRA really were people soldiers. You could see it. Nobody, even if we woke up and found around 20, 30 soldiers outside, you would just go and hug them. So what are they doing and so on? If we walked out of this studio, Oscar, and there are 30 foot outside there, and there is a van there, I don't know how many of you would be thinking. Yeah? I'm sure.
I think these days they call it drone, not van.
Okay, whatever it is. And that goes back to the time of Idi Amin, for those of us who are a little bit older. There used to be those cars, UVS. If you walked out and there was a UVS,
the black one,
Citroen or Datsun 16SS or 160J, Datsun or a Honda Civic, you would know you would be in trouble if there is a UVS. So the other day we were going to see some ambassador, me and Asman, and a few Muslim MPs. So we have vans at Parliament. I think they are the ones they call drones.
The drones also.
So as we entered, Asman made the comment, said, we are sitting in a drone on our own terms. And to him, even just that drone today is a symbol of torture, of kidnap. Really, we can't afford to do this. And the people, especially the NRA soldiers, who did sacrifice, of course there were two categories, but there are many NRA soldiers who thought things were not going on well within Uganda. So they thought they would contribute to the peace, and that it had reached unmanageable levels. They are ready even to lay down their lives so that we live in a better country. I don't know what they think when they hear, read, and see these sort of stories. So I think, and Ssemujju, my brother Ssemujju, it is not true that Parliament has not done anything. This thing has been on the floor, I don't know how many times. It has even been in the committee, I don't know how many times there. But
we have even walked out of Parliament.
So
if you are living in Uganda.
What Parliament's supposed to do, they've done. What these guys, the press is supposed to do, they have done. For example, when Eddie Mutwe, I was watching it on television, was
they have done and been beaten.
They have also become victims. And when Eddie Mutwe was being,
that's what I'm saying. They should
arraigned in court, you could see those were captured on television. The shielding, they were captured on social media. And they brought out the
hiding of the victim.
That sort of thing. It was brought out. So I think everybody is trying to do. And my prayer, really, and I beseech the powers that be, is to listen to the people of this country. Because nobody is happy with it, including members of the National Resistance Movement. I dare say...
Not just including. We are part of Uganda. We are not happy.
You didn't speak like you are part of Uganda.
I said we are not happy
with what
of these excesses. And we are saying it is it's not the whole army doing. I mean, whoever is doing it on behalf of the army is also, I think, deranged. Don't malign our army as if the whole army is in this.
And
the whole of NRM is in this.
Ssemujju, in his simple thinking, he thinks there is an army.
There is an army.
I sympathize.
So if you underrate let's continue going to the substance.
Okay. Let me switch off the microphone so you can continue.
Yeah, to me, if you want to say, oh, this army here, this army here, this army, and I said last time, some time back here, about the CDF. I said, you see, the CDF is not an ordinary officer. The CDF is the Chief of Defense Forces. What he does, an officer can do. Because he said this is what the boss wants us to do. And that's where the problem is, because you are going to find even the junior officers doing exactly the same thing because they think it is normal. And they can't even say, but this is what the commander does or this is what the commander says. So once you do that, it affects the entire army command. So at some point, and maybe we need to... The problem with journalists these days, they use a time when even what the Defense Council, the High Command discuss, eventually gets out to the public. You are the investigative journalist, and they would read and say, maybe I hope they address some of these issues in that meeting. Said this thing, because the army should be, Oscar, very, very concerned about its image. No army would want to have a bad image. No army should. Because the army should be people's army. People should be proud of their own armies. Nobody would want to see that if it is the army, then there's a problem. NRA, that's why at that time it was NRM or NRA. Because they were fused. The National Resistance Movement and the National Resistance Army. Because whatever the NRA was trying to do was fused with the movement, which was the People's Movement at that time. Never mind that some of us disagreed, but the credit you can't take the NRA away from is that they had discipline. They had discipline of the army. And really, I don't know whether this sort of thing could have happened in 1988, around there 90. Maybe it would be very difficult for anybody to comprehend.
Throughout the 90s.
Yeah, so maybe even throughout the 90s.
Yeah.
So my view, and really, to the army, listen to what the Ugandans are telling you. You need to change course. You need to change course. If this thing goes the way it is going, then you are going down the annals of history like the Amini Army. You are going down the annals of history like the UNLA. You see Ssemujju teasing me here and there. I sometimes have no defense. I just laugh it off. But really, it is bad to have that sort of history, and it is tagged onto you. No, Nusu was okay. Nusu produced people like me, so don't mind about Nusu. Nusu produced me, no produced Rugunda.
The Ivan Okuda says, thanks for the show, gang. The success of a colonialism project in Uganda and across Africa was divide and rule along ethnic and religious lines. The UPC government largely built a divide and rule framework around religious divisions. The NRM has equally relied on divide and rule along many ethnic lines. There was a time in northern Uganda and Teso from 1988-2003, there were crimes against humanity being committed, while the rest of Uganda was in love with NRM. It appears now that the heat has shifted to central Uganda. Can the panel explore what it will take for us to mold a true Uganda nation? 2 minutes to the closure of this topic. David Louis Rwongwe, you answer that one.
Yeah, of course, the question of identity and ethnicity in all this is very, very unfortunate, but it also projects a gloomy picture for our country if nothing is done quickly, and that is why you saw recently our leader in NUP wrote to some of the elders in Ankole and Chigezi sub-regions to tell them that, look, yes, Genome 7 is quality of Habura, which means not advisable, but please try to talk to him, caution him about the direction the country is taking. Maybe he can listen to you. And if he cannot listen to you, at least you will have discharged your responsibility. Like I've told you many times, in addition to what his son writes on Twitter and social media and all that, the people who go to these torture dungeons and return, they tell you how everything is ethnicized and how they are, being mocked for the size of about the size of their noses. And for the Muslims, it's worse. Like I said the last time I was here, for the Muslims, it's worse. If you're a Muslim and you're a Muganda, that's double jeopardy for you in those torture chambers. So it's very, very unfortunate, and I think everybody must condemn it. Right now you can see that I think the ordinary people of Uganda have tried to gel, to connect, to be one Uganda, to be one people, to live in harmony. But then you have someone at the highest peak of the military and the juniors doing this kind of thing in the name of tribe. And when Edim was explaining what these guys were doing to him, someone spitting on your face and mocking you because of it. It's just ridiculous and horrific, to say the least.
Yeah. Okay.
But like maybe I'll just quote a line from the letter our leader wrote to these leaders, is that the worst catastrophes in human history did not start with people killing each other, with gas chambers, the Holocaust and all that. It started with this kind of talk. So that's why I'm saying that those people who are just joking about this situation, a monkey is just laughing about a burning bush, and before long it will come for them. So everybody needs to know that this is a very, very, very serious situation.
Okay, let's stop for a break. Someone says, remind Ssemujju that the army recently overran a police station in Lubowa, who has been brought to account. We'll come back from the break. Large discussion on past armies and so on. Abdul, are you going to the DFCU jazz concert at the Serena Hotel?
No, tomorrow.
No, it is tonight.
Yeah, I'll go tomorrow.
You can't. I was looking forward to seeing you there. I've been invited.
I'll go tomorrow.
You'll go tomorrow.
Yeah.
Let's start with you again, David Louis Rubongoya, on our next topic. A lot of people say they are tired.
What Rubongoya was saying, that his leader wrote to leaders in Ankole. And Ankole and what? Then that is also ethnicity, playing in the game of ethnicity also. You should have written to Ugandans, leaders in Uganda. Why focus on we mean the people in Ankole sit to decide what the army does, what the leaders do. No, that is the
so
lack of
you
strategy.
write to an elder in Uganda to stop people from being tortured to run in Runyankole?
But that is a long strategy. This is a nation. When you start writing to leaders of a particular area, that you are the people who produce this sun.
So
I think that's the wrong. But that's the wrong strategy.
If somebody is saying they are committing crimes in the name of a particular group of people, listen. The strategy here is someone is committing crimes, but trying to tie them on an entire group of people. And we are saying, but it's as if you don't live in this country.
No, but when Mohozi says, I'm going to teach you, it does not mean...
Have you seen other tweets that he has put? And I've told you that just don't look at it in the sense of these tweets. I've told you it is a practice. It is a practice. So the point is, these elders from Chigezi and Ankole have an opportunity. One, to disassociate themselves. Listen, one, to disassociate themselves from this madness. Number two, to condemn it, and hopefully to caution General Museveni if you can see this.
There are people who have condemned it, and Hon Ssemujju can give his opinion, so it is okay. Not just yet. You.
So you are also.
Yeah. Because if you are not understanding what danger this portends for us as Banyankole, I don't know where you have been.
No, but this is the army. You are talking about the army. You are talking about the CDF. But what has it got to do with the Munyankole?
The one who said that he's teaching someone Munyankole.
That is his own narrative as an individual.
But so let me tell you, for us where we walk,
he did not consult leaders in Ankole.
What we are told, what we are asked. You are one of them. You guys are the ones that are mistreating us, that are harassing us. Now, every Munyankole has to come out and disassociate themselves and actually associate with the people.
Ignore Agatha.
Oscar, when PAFO started, the Abdu started the PAFO, I covered them.
I want to talk about NUP and NRM.
I was in the media. The Honorable Elia Kategaya, in one of the PAFO meetings in Imbarara, he said when Obote was overthrown, people went to Akokoro. He wanted to see if Akokoro was different from Uganda. And he said, you see, once you as a tribe, as an ethnic group, you may not even have sat somewhere to appoint someone to become a leader. But the anger of the country is going to be visited upon you when that leader goes. And that's why he said, Kategaya, that they had a duty to plead with Museveni to ensure there is peaceful transfer of power. He said the thing that happened to the people of Western Nile when Amin was overthrown, the thing that happened to Langese when Obote was overthrown, don't have to happen to any other ethnic group. And one way of ensuring it doesn't happen is peaceful transfer of power. Ssemujju, you are an apologist, but the Banyankole themselves, at a level of Kategaya, had seen these things much earlier and said we need to find a solution. You were saying the Banyankole should keep quiet. Now we write to Western Nile, maybe to Moses.
No, but you address Ugandans. Address Ugandans, not a tribal.
Okay.
But
tribal letters.
Focusing on the people that are practicing tribalism are the ones
David
that
Lewis
to do with what's happening.
Some people say we should leave the topic, and this time round I agree with them. Another hot topic that people want to listen to is seeing disagreement within the NUP party. It is reported the NUP party has invited some leaders to come and apologize. Those leaders have refused to come and apologize. Then it is reported that Honorable Chivumbi has said he's going to ask them. So where is the leading opposition party right now?
Well, first of all, I think there has been a serious misrepresentation of the facts. NUP, first of all, operates in a very difficult context. As you know, we came to Parliament with 57 members of Parliament as NUP, but as I speak, maybe we can count on about 47. About 10 of them have since clearly indicated that they have either been bought off, and some have paraded nice cars that have been given to them. Others have taken part in grand corruption and all that. So I think the message was that first of all, we are people power, believe in the power of the people. That if anybody out there, we presented you to the people and you became a member of Parliament, and people have not been understanding how you've been moving, you still have an opportunity to go to the people and amend your ways and try to. There are some people, for example, who have not appeared anywhere in their constituency. The person was elected massively by the people. We presented this person to the people. The person went to Parliament, went silent, received some money here and there, and they abandoned the people. So I think our message was that you have an opportunity. And people have been saying we asked them to come to the party and apologize. That's not true. We did not tell them to come to us. We told them to go to the people and make amends with the people. For us as a party, of course, there are some...
Is that realistic?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We are people power. So you have an opportunity, especially to clearly indicate where you fall. Because we have people now, they say they are NUP, but in every sense of the word, they are with the same dictatorial regime of these Ssemujjus, which is abducting people, which is killing our people. And some of them have, taken part in some of those crimes that are being committed against our people. So what we want the people to do is to come out very clearly and indicate, where do you fall? Are you still on the path that we are on, trying to change this country, or you have since followed these people? But what I want to explain is that everyone out there listening to us must understand the context under which we operate. Yesterday I was listening to my senior here, Honorable Ssemujju, speaking on a certain radio, and he was talking about democracy and political parties, and he was even giving credit to NRM that it can at least organize, even if it's a sham process and all that. But for us, even when we want to do activities at our headquarters and the police comes and closes them down. The other day we tried to do meetings, just 4 meetings across the country. And after the first one, police wrote to us and stopped us. And I was wondering how anybody expects that NUP will be allowed to move around the country organizing grassroots elections, when every time we try to organize these, our people, they are called rebels and charged with all sorts of things. So some of the problems we're dealing with are context-based. That even these MPs that you got, the 57, General Museveni and the system think there are too many. So they have to give them some offers here and there. I mean, you saw one Kagabo parading a car and thanking Museveni and his son and saying, so NUP has a duty and responsibility to account to the people who elected these people, to say these people, we no longer understand how they are moving. They have an opportunity to come out clearly and indicate where they stand now. Of course, for some like Kagabo and others, Luanga and others, it's very clear where they fall. But there are those who are in the gray zone. And I think those were the ones we are clearly sending a message to.
But you're the Secretary General, so you're in Uganda, we say you're the Mukubiriza. So what are you doing about them?
I mean, we gave them an opportunity. We gave them an opportunity.
And people sort them out.
You see, that's why I'm telling you that for us we are people power. So what we did was, it's not that we are going to do any rudimentary exercise. We are communicating to the people largely, and at an appropriate time, those who have been, moving in that way, we shall again subject them to the people, and the people will clearly speak with a very loud voice that these people, they are no longer on the same objectives as we are as a party.
Hon Ssemujju, NUP, do you foresee trouble, or this is what happens to an opposition party in Uganda?
You see, I joined the FDC, I think when it was about 6 years old.
For us, we don't know where you are now, but let us discuss it.
I am in PFF.
PFF is not a legal political party yet.
It is about to be.
Okay.
So the issues that Rubonga is raising, everybody has faced. Abdul will tell you.
In your position?
Yes, Abdul will tell you, in FDC, each election, NRM will be at the center. They have bribed so and so, they have brought money, there was time, even when we had a discussion not to have elections because NRM will interfere. So the point I made, and I want to repeat, is that it is also not proper for the opposition parties to use NRM as a shield, not to be democratic. That I will say today, and I will keep saying it all the time. In FDC would announce a program for elections. These elections will have problems. They will interfere certainly with them. But there will be a program, there will be guidelines, we will send forms, we will recruit members, and then you have internal elections where it is possible. But you cannot say because NRM is interfering, you will not announce a program. There will be no exercise witnessed anywhere of elections. And then you want to look different from NRM. That for me, I cannot, it's not, I will not buy into that. Announce a program, every opposition party, roll it out. Because you will participate in elections. Won't NRM interfere with the elections? Are you going to call off elections because NRM is going to interfere? They will beat you during elections, but you will attempt to campaign. The same way you endure.
In the last election,
yes,
NUP appointed candidates. You don't like that?
At that time, it was not possible for them to go through because they were new. I mean, you have a week, you cannot go and organize internal party elections, but now they are not new. So every opposition party, I've told you, Lewis, ran from FDC, who have disintegrated, but at least there was a process.
I think that was the reason why it disintegrated.
No, it wasn't. NRM actually, people in opposition tended to weaponize NRM.
Ssemujju, the way you say run from FDC, we have disintegrated, but run.
That was not the reason. So what I don't accept is weaponizing NRM and use it against internal party processes. So the NRM will interfere with the elections. We will go. We are campaigning. You mean, Lewis, your people are not campaigning and putting up posters all over the country?
They are. The
same way you endure those difficulties in an election. It's the same way you must endure them, because how do you endure these difficulties participating in a national election and you can't endure them for internal elections? So there cannot be any excuse. All parties must be democratic, or they must attempt and then fail.
Okay. Honorable Katuntu.
The first question, where is he?
Okay, I can say this maybe. People learn history to pass exams. Unfortunately.
And they stop there.
Unfortunately.
Yes. History is supposed to be learned to pick out as a lesson. To appreciate what happened before you. To see where there are weaknesses and you don't repeat them, or you repeat them. That's the statement to NUP. If you think FDC just disintegrated, maybe think again. You would have asked yourself, why did the FDC disintegrate? Because what Lewis is saying today is not something new. And let me tell you an example. All parties have gone through it, including NRM actually. If you realize 3 parliaments ago, when this rebel MP came up in Parliament, because they were associating so much, we used to associate me and Honorable Sechkubo, Honorable Tinka Simire, Honorable Nwagava, who were really strong supporters of the NRM. And a section of the NRMs were exactly saying what Lewis is saying. Oh, these ones associating with these ones. Oh, these are opposition fellows, blah, 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 so on. They didn't only stop there. They went and they were sacked. You remember, Oscar? They were sacked from the party. Reason, they are no longer in RM. They are associating with so and so. Pick lessons. If you don't, as day follows night. They sat in the, I repeat, area. As day follows night, you end up at the same destination if you don't pick lessons. However, NRA, NUP and FDC have a little bit of fundamental differences. One, the way we are formed. For us, we had all the time. First of all, getting people who we thought we were thinking alike together, from the Advocates Forum to co-opting one of the party which was there, never mind whether it was a big parties and so on. We went to the grassroots slowly and built some sort of party. NUP did not have that opportunity because they didn't have that sort of time to do it.
Even then, they were in court fighting to keep their name. The
circumstances were like that opportunity was not there. Then, as we go to the campaign, they are hit with this COVID and the rules that came, unfair rules. So, to evolve as an ordinary party was not possible. Then, now they have a choice. And maybe this is where they have taken, I'm just assuming, I'm not an insider, to say, let us not have an orthodox political party because the circumstances are such that it doesn't survive. So let us continue being the wave we are.
A kind of bang the table.
Yes, being don't go around, create structures and so on, village levels, like they are known, because they will be facing the sort of challenges FDC and other parties face. Maybe that is their thinking. As to whether that is sustainable ideologically, or as to whether that is only sustainable for purposes of putting pressure on the NRM government, that it will remain to be seen. They could be thinking that way, that don't create the former structures and so on, because eventually there will be victims. But if you know the biggest victim has been the NRM, the NRM has had more defections. Well, just look what the major, except this other NUP leadership and so on, but the major FDC leadership formerly was NRM. Formerly, many of them.
Even NUP.
So
they are here. Where was he? Where has he been? He has been NRM.
Even Lewis. Yeah. So people leaving parties. Please don't. There should be no cry, baby, not. Why people leave parties? For many reasons. Others will leave because they think the party is not being managed properly. Others will think, who did I associate with? Others will think because they think they are green pastures where they are going, meaning they have been bought. Others will say, let them go. That was others will be fatigued. They have fought and like they can't fight anymore. You see,
others, the language you use that intimidates.
Don't please. Let me make my point. You want to argue conveniently. You want to argue conveniently. I just want to argue from, I imagine, an objective point that one, many people are going to leave parties, but for different reasons. So you don't have to cry over. What you have to do is just to remain steady. If you are preoccupied with those who are leaving your party, you are in trouble. You get diverted, and instead you spend so much negative energy trying to explain yourselves and so on, instead of you being
Forging on.
consistent and trying to recruit.
Okay.
You may pick some lessons, or you may be too brilliant, you don't need any lessons, you move on.
Agatha, on internal bickering within the NUP, there's someone on Twitter, or formerly X, says, will they talk about the fallout? It's better to read it. Asked Luis to talk about Mpuga. Is it really true that he was responsible for the arrest of those MPs, or we took the principal's words out of context? Then Levi Earo, as usual, says, if these people cannot manage 57 MPs, how can they manage 50 million Ugandans?
80. One like this.
Agatha, you're
By the way, all as the father comes on, all parties, including NRM, would want to recruit from other parties. So you can't say they are not going to recruit from you. Expect that.
They do. That's part of Lydia's work.
It's part of politics.
So first, Honorable Ssemujju here, when this conversation started, was very happy and said, no, I'm your neighbor. So he was he was like, like I'm happy about this, but like I think like Honorable Abdu says, the NRM hasn't been an exception. FDC came from NRM. Go forward came from NRM. Most of the NUP have come from NRM, so it's nothing new. But also we haven't mentioned the NRM's role in this bickering. And I will tell you a story I know. When I was it last year or 2023? Someone from security. Our security people never shy away from saying they are NRM. Like for me, so we are supposed to have security officers.
There are DC who is the chairperson of district security committee. Can imagine the district security committee is NRM. They are the ones organizing NRM.
And so this security officer one day asked me why I no longer write about Parliament, and said, "Did they buy you off? Did Among buy you off? Why are you not writing about them anymore?" I said, well, I no longer have information. My sources were purged out, others were threatened. And I told him that the information I don't have evidence for it. And the information concerned Mpuga was still leader of opposition. It concerned Among, Mpuga, and the leadership of Parliament then. And I said, for example, I have heard about this. I failed to get proof, and of late, knowing the enemies I've created for myself, there's no way I'm going to write something that I. So this person said,
I also wouldn't allow you to give a statement that you have no proof.
No, you see, in journalism, you don't need proof beyond reasonable doubt ordinarily.
But if you need some proof.
And that's why I said, if you have a source that you trust, a reliable source, you are supposed to go and say, I have my reliable sources and this transpired. But even with reliable sources, without a document, now knowing what might happen. Anyway, so long story short, this person says, I can't wait for you to expose Mpuga, because for us, we want NUP to sack him as the leader of opposition, and it disintegrates. This is what the person told me. I said, I don't care about
and
it
disintegrates.
Yeah, and it causes a revolt in NUP. I told this person,
and now it has happened.
I don't care about your objectives. I care about informing Ugandans about their leaders. But also, I don't know why you think Honorable Mpuga has the power to, lead to the disintegration of NUP. And I don't think it has disintegrated per se. So that shows that NRM works actively towards that, towards sowing all this bickering and whatever. What I think the others were telling David Lewis
in some way that is legit. You'd have the American Republicans actively working to bring down the Democrats.
You see, in our case, there's undue advantage that the NRM has, because the NRM is the state. It uses government resources to do that. It uses the government machinery, because right now I'm telling you about security. Someone from the security. It uses the security. It uses intimidation. It uses money and bribes. So that many people should be aware of that. An elder in 2017 was NUP. People Power started in 2017, right, or 2018? There said it will dissipate because it has no structures, the sort of thing that Honorable Abductions was talking about. But the same elder had already told me that General Muntu starting a party to build structures will not work, because the NRM is known for infiltrating these structures. Now, at the end of the day, whether you start in the air like the NUP started, or start with building structures like General Muntu has been trying to do since they formed the Alliance for National Transformation, is that there is no silver bullet anymore. You don't know what will work and what will not. And I think that for NUP, it's just continuing those that are continuing with it, and maybe those that it will appeal to. I also wanted to respond to...
Just pause for a second.
Yeah.
We go for a break, and then we'll get you back.
Okay.
We'll come back from the break. Agatha, you had one final point to make.
Oh, so the one final point was a response to Ssemujju keeps saying he hasn't spoken, but he has been speaking. Well, I'm sorry, I am terrible with honorable things and many things.
Well,
but yeah, it doesn't stop him from being a honorable, if he is one.
But actually, if you are to go with titles,
Yes.
Honorable Ssemujju should not be Honorable Ssemujju. He should be Mr. Ssemujju. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Call him so.
So he said that maybe the language of NUP is what is discouraging people from joining or making them leave. So and the question for me is, what is making those that we have counted from 2005, the FDCs and whatever, what is making them leave NRM if the language for you is not? And this is the propaganda they have used from time immemorial. So we used to hear how they say Besigye is vengeful, he's angry, don't vote for him. And you know, it was working. One day I told a cousin of mine, if I asked why they were not going to vote in 2016, I said, vote for who? I said, for Besigye. And he said, but that angry guy, and you know, these are people that have never met the person. But there's this propaganda. And this propaganda again started when the NUP came. This whole it's a tribalistic party, and it worked. I was in about 4 districts in Western Uganda towards 2021, the Christmas of 2020, and all my relatives were saying that you know, we are told our people will be chased from Kampala when Bobi Wine becomes president, because he hates Banyankole, because it's a tribalistic party. And I said, but guys, look who is speaking, that it's a part of only Baganda. I said, which one of you has gone to join the NUP and has been turned away because he's not a Muganda? And there was no one. And I said, it makes you tribalistic, because you are the ones that are don't want to join a party led by a Muganda. But this type of propaganda, and when it goes to
there's
language,
a tribalism which is illegal. But remember, in the first time Trump ran, he used the slogan "Lock her up," and it seemed to work. And when you look at what he termed the illegalities that lady had then, Trump has had them aplenty now that he's president.
Yeah, but so this is really to speak about the propaganda that is creating these sorts of and
what I'm putting to is
conflict.
that all parties seem to have propaganda.
Now, if you know that you have played a role in this, then why go and say it wasn't going to hold people anyway because of its language? Because you are the one that is popularizing this narrative that is false in many cases. Look at what happened in the 2021 elections, when there was this talk of it is a tribal party, it only won in Uganda. And you looked at what was happening was that I think NRM had gotten over 70% from Western Uganda. And the NUP didn't have more than 70% in Uganda. It was about 63, 65. I don't remember the figures correctly. When you looked at Chiruhura, where President Museveni comes from, it was 100% NRM. But Magere Wakiso, it wasn't 100% for NUP. So that sort of sowing that narrative is also contributes to what we see happening here. I think that it's hard to know what will work, whether it is structures.
Okay.
The structures didn't work for Amama Mbabazi, who had been in charge of NRM for so long and who had thought he had built them. Probably the wave might work for NRM, but also the desperation for Ugandans, like Abdu was saying during the break, that they are desperate to have change, might work in the favor of who they see as a stronger party. So
before I come to you, Honorable Ssemujju, because NRM had elections, let me ask David Louis Bongwe to have final word on that topic.
Yeah, thank you very much. First of all, as NUP, we believe in democratic values, we believe in democratic principles, and that's why what we are fighting to establish in this country. But like I said, we're also mindful of the context. And I'm very glad that Honorable Ssemujju, before he left, also talked about the context and all that. So when we are dealing with, and of course, when you're trying to look at the strategy that you're going to use, you need to look at all those factors. In our case, for example, I can confirm that very soon you'll see us have a delegates conference to elect the leaders of the party, the new NEC. But even when we wanted to amend our constitution to make it more broad-based, in the sense that we wanted to bring even more people, expand the number of delegates in our delegates conference and all that, the Electoral Commission refused to gazette that constitution. Eventually, some people brought a court case, which you can see is clearly choreographed, clearly planned. So even if we wanted to have some of those structures you're talking about, the constitutional framework we have right now does not permit us, which is why we resorted to doing mobilization committees in the different districts of the country, and which have been, as I've been explaining, they have got so many challenges. In Kasese, they found them in a house just trying to mobilize, and they charged them with a conspiracy to commit a felony of terrorism. They took them in. And that has happened to many other of our people in different parts of the country. So, in order for us to organize, and I also want to say that this week we are going to engage with the police. We wrote to them after they blocked our activities, and we said, what do you want us to do? NRM is busy doing what they call barazas. When General Museveni goes to do PDM meetings, they turn into campaigns and all that. When we do just one activity like this, the following day I'll have a letter on my desk from the IGP saying you cannot do activities, you have breached traffic rules and all that. So any person who says that NUP, and I also want us to understand the differences in the times. Maybe when FDC was starting, because of this civic space we're talking about, maybe there was still some civic space for political parties to operate. But right now, even when they learn that NUP is going to do a meeting in the remotest part of the country, I mean, right now, look at what happened over the last weekend. 13 of our supporters in Masaka, they were found at a football match, taken in, and now they've been charged with aggravated robbery. Aggravated robbery, the same charge which the Edmontons are suffering with. And if you look at the charge sheet, they say they stole 100,000 shillings and a phone worth 100,000 shillings. 13 people on such a charge sheet. So, that's the context in which we operate.
Yeah.
And the other day, when we had...
but you also pity those magistrates now that listen to these cases.
Yeah. I mean, these are 13 young, productive people who some were picked from their houses. They are not even there. For example, in the case of Eddie Mutwe, there is a gentleman called Wakabi Grace who was not at that event in Masaka, which they are talking about. But because he's part of our president's security team, he's picked up with them, taken in. So the point I'm making is really that it is not that we wouldn't want to go out there, mobilize, have our structures, do all these things. It is because of these illegal blockades that we
Thank
get.
You. So, Honorable Ssemujju, you've conducted elections.
Yes.
Congratulations on those. It was a bit brave conducting the elections, but what's the procedure? These are I asked the producer, Patricia, what were these elections? Flag bearer for LC1, flag bearer for LC chairman, flag bearer for parliament.
No.
Checking the register for what?
No, this was cells, villages electing their NRM leaders.
Right.
That is the party structure. And from thereafter, it will keep building to now electing LC2, level 2 of the structure, the parish, NRM leaders. Then that group will emanate at a sub-county and then elect the chairman and the committee for the sub-county or divisions. So it is that pyramid kind of structure, NRM, and eventually it will culminate into electing district chairman and the committees and all the leagues, and then from the district we go to the national conference and so on and so forth. And
whose idea was this?
It has always happened. It has always happened that chairmen are elected. But only that these days, with the technology, with the kind of the noise with which it comes, that excitement, I don't know, because we were taken long. Maybe during COVID, people did not elect these structures.
And you went back to the
that's the way to
old
mobilize
style,
and
people lining up,
and to know the numbers, 70,000 and something villages electing.
And for once, the president noted on seeing some dead people still on the register and so on.
Yeah, but that was the what we were supposed to do.
Yeah.
Go to register and identify those who are present, those who have moved, those who have died, those who are in the village. Mobilize each other. And I don't see why our friends, either in small or big structures, fear. Work under fear. Not to say you can be at is it Karere? You can be at your Karere headquarters and say, let all villages in Uganda, I'll be at Magere, and everybody mobilizes to elect leaders in their own areas. And that will be your structure. That's what DP will do. That's what FDC, if still wants to participate.
You're saying they shouldn't fear?
They shouldn't. Do a program, do announce, here at Magere, NTV is here to announce for you, Capital is here, announce every day. A few announcements, let everybody...
When you spoke first, Abdul looked at you in a manner, and now he's laughing at you.
No, it was not laughing. That's because whether you fear or not, you are creating a party. But how do you want to micromanage? People are electing in Soroti, then you go as a leader. People are electing in Kitugum. Don't you want party members in Igulu? Just do a program and gazette a day and gazette a date. Then we'll see how the police will run in all the villages in Uganda beating up on UP structures. But for you want to micromanage, go to a town hall in Kasese with the whole convoy. Just do a program. And that's why I was smiling when Katuntu was saying,
Robert, this is talking about a different person.
No, I'm saying Honorable Katuntu.
Oh,
the one I know, and the OB
the one
from
with the convoy, we know him.
No, so College Mweri, I know Katuntu here. Can even say, I Katuntu are going to form a party without him even moving an inch. Create a structure. Create a structure throughout the whole country under your flag. Say everybody who at a village. We need 3 people at every village as a loop. Without fear. Just gazette and say we need
this
members.
Is what NRM has done.
From Karamoja. That's what we have done.
We are soon engaging the police on that. It's on our program.
Don't engage the police. You are a political party.
So what are you saying? Who has been blocking our activities? You see, this is what I'm saying. I really sometimes... anyway.
This is a formula I'm telling you. I'm not saying this is what we're doing. Louis, I'm saying you as Louis can stand as a Secretary General. You can announce and gazette a date and program.
But I've told you that all the programs that have been blocked have been in our program.
But you have been flogging this. You have been the ones moving from one village to another. I'm saying you can make an announcement.
So what is criminal about that?
No, but they want to consult the police or the.
No, but the police is the one which wrote to us stopping our activities.
It's a requirement these days.
The police wrote to us stopping our activities.
Did we inform police? Did you hear us announce to police?
But that's the impunity we're talking about.
No,
should I show you a letter from the IGP stopping all our activities?
Police stopping all our political activities?
Yes. When we were doing these mobilization meetings,
then you are saying mobilization. I'm not saying about mobilization. I'm saying he's saying mobilization. I'm not talking about his mobilization.
But
we have been talking about him creating structures in the
which is what we were doing when we went to Mbale for our teams.
So mobilization.
How do you stretch?
Anyway, that is your method. That is your method. That's your party.
You've given advice.
Part of mobilization.
Okay, that's your party.
So just
that's
one question. Honorable Ssemujju, just one question on that one.
Yes.
Why do you think they should believe you and take your advice?
No, I'm saying
you've given advice.
They can
and I'm
decide.
saying, why do you believe they should take your advice?
They can choose to be a civil party. Not a cult kind of party that they are creating. What is it? What does it talk about the Gali they are talking about? As if they are creating and perception is very key in whether you are creating when you are creating a party. That's why even Agatha here intimated to that people fear diversity for so long because of his aggressive ways. You accept it. Your villagers were saying, and relatives were saying.
When you talk about cult, we had Ofonopono here, who is a Musevenist.
A Musevenist?
Yes.
What is a Musevenist?
They are the ones you're talking about.
No.
People
I'm saying
who go with the cult.
I'm saying perception is very key to a public.
You may find that there are many people who are Musevenist.
And if you don't
but if you choose to be a Musevenist,
when you talk about a Gali or protest vote and you don't understand it, ask us and we'll explain it to you.
Okay, you explain to the public.
Let me ask Abdu to give
what a Gali is.
Ask Abdu to give final comment on this. Because
what you are creating, but I'm saying a normal party should act as a normal
Let
party.
Abdu speak finally on it.
And
after all, he
was
part of people who created a party.
Okay.
So final on this one.
Yeah, actually, I'm not only believing, I'm one of the people who really fought hard from 2001, actually from 1999, to have multi-party back. I don't know whether I'm grown wiser, or I was naive, or I'm now selfish. But the sort of parties I was thinking,
all the above,
or even all of the above. The multi-party dispensation I dreamt of is not this one. No. Because what we seem to have realized is a state party, the NRM. And you have nothing to be proud about this. Where you have a political party fused with the state structures, the RDC's office and then the internal security organization to be part and parcel of the same thing. And that's where the problem is, where the Lewises are complaining. You had a very, very, I'd call it successful, in inverted commas, process, created your own structures and so on. You cannot give a chance to the major political party, now opposition party, to organize and compete with them politically, but don't compete with them using state structures. And their cry is so loud, and everybody sees it every day. You don't have to be very intelligent to see it. It's there. They can't organize. For example, if they were to go to Mubende and say they are going to have a meeting of all NUP fellows and so on, police will be there to either arrest or disperse it. But that is a daily occurrence. I don't know how you can even be proud of this, Mr. Ssemujju. This is... No, you are. And because you see, you either are or you are an apologist.
No.
And that's wrong.
Let me tell you, in
1980, you and me were mature people in this country. And some of these problems, I say, the party my parents used to belong to, and which I sort of belonged to at UPC, was doing the same thing. And for sure, when eventually we are faced out of power, we are like, how could an innocent person do that sort of thing?
Thank you, Abdul.
So, to me, as long as you fuse your party with the state structures. And you don't see it as a problem. First of all, it is illegal. It is unconstitutional. Because that now becomes a state party. State parties or one-party system is actually, by constitution, disallowed. By constitution. So, you need to wake up. Whether we are in a multi-party dispensation and allow other parties to work, compete with them.
Thank you.
Do all political that is okay, but don't do state maneuvers.
Okay. Thank you, Abdul. Agatha, lead on this one. Are you Catholic?
No.
No, you're not Catholic.
And I have never had an opinion about the Pope. Please, I will pass on that one.
You can congratulate the Catholics for getting their Pope.
So yeah, I congratulate the American Pope.
How can you have an opinion about this?
Yes.
I say I never know the implications of the death of a Pope, for example.
Robert Kasule Ssemujju, the Pope.
Yeah, the Pope, we are happy. First,
are you Catholic?
I'm not Catholic, but my family is double. We are Catholics, we are Protestants, Anglican, the boys, and the girls are Catholics, because the mom is Catholic. And I pray in both churches, and I even do the cross, like when I'm in the Catholic church. I'm happy. They got the Pope within a few days, and I think they all concurred and had consensus on this missionary man, and as if they wanted to continue what the previous Pope was.
Because he appointed him.
The narrative of working together, ecumenical with other religious groups, and talking to power, that please, this is not right. I think they were all looking at this evangelist.
I want to smile when you say that, talking to power.
And he was called Robert, so I was very happy. I almost predicted.
The bit about talking to power.
Yes.
What he's smiling
about.
Yeah,
talking to power. Even NRM wants to when the things go wrong. We sometimes and most times talk to power and say, please, this is bad.
Louis,
whether they agree, but otherwise, the American Pope.
The Peruvians, they're saying, Peru people are saying is Peruvian Pope.
Peruvian Pope. Yeah. And an immigrant. In fact, an immigrant parents to America. So I think it's also a response to the politics in the world.
Maybe.
I think maybe they wanted to.
Well, we congratulate
to Trump.
Pope Leo XIV on his elevation to that very, very important role in the world. I followed the process very, very because I was just
Catholic, following and hoping for more days, but then
I was just following everything.
Pardon?
Were you hoping for the Ghanaian, the African?
No. I'm a realist.
It's to congratulate him and of course hope that he will continue the legacy of Pope Francis. And one of the things that I'm hoping and excited about is, of course, his views on immigration and all that, on social justice issues. So we wish him the best and pray that the church will be strengthened and continue to play a very, very important role. You know, in Uganda, for example, with all the problems, the Catholic Church has been quite vocal on questions of social justice, on human rights and all that, which we are very grateful for. So we hope it can, be the same thing at the global scale, as we hope it will be here in Uganda. Yeah.
Abdul is not in Uganda. He has been here before.
The Pope Leo?
Yes.
Oh, yes. I did
here, so we don't need to convince him to come back to Uganda. Okay. He will choose by himself.
Abdul, on the new Pope?
Well, congratulations to the Catholic community throughout the world for having gotten a new leader. I had an opportunity to, as you know, to meet the other one, not the one who absconded, and he was quite a pleasant person. I really hope that the world knows his views more about social justice. Lewis is talking about. including, I want to hear his views on issues like homosexuality, because you know where I belong. Yes, I want to hear his views about... yes, all of them. We want to hear his views, because some of us hold it strongly.
When you say homosexuality, Agatha throws in abortion
that's not
rights.
the biggest problem in the world.
That we were happy about Pope Francis.
That
Even
this thing I want to say where
Sexism. When can we have a female priest?
Yeah. No, I don't want to get involved in that discussion. That's for the Catholics. That's their business. When they get it, but I want to hear his views. Whether
Thank you.
Support some of those vices.
Okay.
School holidays are here. We hope
ending.
you are enjoying holidays with children. Star Cafe, thank you so much for powering Capital Gang today. The gangsters.
You have offloaded it to us.
Yes, also to partake in parenting duty.
You can't wait for the holiday to end and you run all the way to the bank.
I know.
Don't make me comment on microphone.
We take it up from there.
So thank you very much, Star Cafe, for powering the gang. Thank you, gangsters of a day. Honorable Robert Kasule Sebunya. Thank you, Honorable Ibra Ssemujju. Honorable Katuntu, Secretary General David Lewis Rubongoya, Agatha Atware, thank you very much. I am Oscar Senwe-Amsoke and shall see you
Honorable
next week.
Sebunya here.
Yeah.
Is my very, very good friend. But you, I'm not so sure.
Were you?